All right, ready, friends? Set, friends. Here we go. All right, let's run through the homework. It's going to be kind of a mellow day. I'm not going to go to 5-4 yet. Okay, so let's go over these problems. I then want to review, make sure we feel comfortable with the 5-1 to 5-3, because I will give you a quiz tomorrow on 5-1 to 5-3. Okay? Oh, so 5-1 and 5-3. We skip 5-2. Okay, it's a short quiz. It's the front and the back, but let's just work with it. So problem number 1. This is on page 69, right? I am on 5-3. Yeah. Okay, we seek to find the average number of left-handed students in any given class. Okay, we sample 40 different classrooms. Explain how sampling variability applies. Okay, so would you think that each class might have a different percent of left-handed students? Is it possible we have a class that we sampled that has 0? Is it possible that now this is thinking, strange probabilities. Is it possible we walked into a class of 30 students and every student was left-handed?
No.
Could it though happen? Yeah. Like in a weird, the moon didn't come up this month. The moon didn't come up, like, strange, obscure. So like there is always a chance that some of these things could happen, but it's not reality. Yeah.
Would having different numbers of people total in a class be an example of sampling variability as well?
That could, yeah. I mean, if you had like 3 people in a class versus, yeah, if you had 30 people in a class, chances are higher that you probably have somebody who is left-handed versus if you only have 3. Yeah, that's great. I love that. So does that make sense? And again, a lot of this stuff becomes your interpretation. So your interpretation is not necessarily incorrect unless you put like, I like to eat cheeseburgers on Tuesday. Then that's not going to help you. But let's see. Problem number 2 says a student wants to select 40 different classrooms throughout Creek and count the number of left-handed students in each one. The student chooses classrooms arbitrarily as he wanders campus. Explain why this is not random. Yeah.
Can you be unconsciously making a decision based on that?
I love it. Yeah. So the thing is, human beings can't choose randomly. Our brains aren't made to choose randomly. Now, there's something I want to show you, and this is off topic a little bit, but you all deal with me too, so you know that I take tangents left and right. So the graphing calculator has a random number generator, and I just have to remember where it's at. Let's see. It's in their stat. Calculate. Test. I just have to remember where it's at. Vars. Statistics. Okay, that's not it. Hang on. I'll Google it real quick. All right, let's see. That's not what I'm looking for. so it's under math, probability. There it is. Okay, so if you, on the graphing calculator, if you hit math, and then you hit prob. Now, does anyone have a TI? I don't have it in mine back there, I don't think. If you have one, would you get it out? Because I want to show you a flaw in TI. Okay? Factorial. So factorial means if you said 5 factorial, it's 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. It comes up with a... Okay. So if I... So hit math, and then hit probability. Move over to probability. Are you about there?
Yeah.
Okay. If you hit, is your number one highlighted, says rand?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and hit it. And then hit it one more time. Oh, okay. So I think maybe a correct, or maybe, I what's that? Same numbers? Okay. So this is where the flaw in TI is. Hit enter one more time. You got the exact same numbers as me? Hit it in one more time. Okay. Yours isn't?
I got 0.22 and 0.98.
Oh, okay. So for some odd reason, some of the TI doesn't really have a random number generator. It just has a sequence of numbers that they've arbitrarily plugged in. And if it's the first time you've ever hit it, it is going to select the same things. So it's even the TI is not random because the probability that Jack and my calculators came up with the exact same random numbers just arbitrarily means there is a flaw in the system. So how a random number generator should happen on a calculator is it should have a subroutine from 0 to 9. Okay? And it's 0 to 9 for each value. And so what it should do is it should do an iteration count, and it's going to spew numbers. So the funny thing about the calculator is, and the AP is actually the ones that discovered this, because they were like, you know, hey, choose a random number, and they were finding that nationwide, they kept getting the same exact random numbers put on the AP test. And at first they're like, well, students are obviously cheating. No. Someone in Jersey didn't cheat with somebody in Arizona. Okay, these AP tests came from different places throughout the entire United States. And then they realized, oh my gosh, the random number generator on the calculator can offer the exact same sequence. Now, not that your calculator is different. We would probably be able to find somebody whose random number generator is going to be identical to yours.
Is it based on the version?
It might be the version, it might be
Because that's the TI 84 plus.
84 plus, and I'm a...
Yours is Screwdriver?
Yeah. So it might be like when it was made. Like let's say yours was made in March and his was made in May. Maybe that took place. But it didn't allow randomness. Okay? If I truly wanted, if that student truly wanted to arbitrarily select, what was it, 40 classrooms? Is that what it was? What that student should do is write down on an identical sheet of paper every class number, take that sheet of paper, keep it identical to all the rest of the sheets of paper, so don't crumple one of them. Put it in some sort of tumbler, and actually what that person should do is walk up to a group of people and give each person a coin and have them all flip a coin until someone has 3 heads in a row. and then have that person actually pick that piece of paper out of the hat or the bag, and then it says, oh, okay, this is West 548, comes in here, samples. Okay, toss that piece of paper, actually, put that piece of paper back in. Now, my wife, this is funny. At the end of every school year, they have like a big staff luncheon, and they have prizes. And they have some pretty cool prizes that they give. So because this guy understands how to flaw a system, what they basically do is they tell us, yeah, here, write your name on this piece of paper, and we'll pull it out of the hat for prizes. You know what I do with my piece of paper each time? I crumble it up and then unfold it, so now it's all uneven. So when someone's hand goes in, my piece of paper isn't lying flat.
That is.
I have won some great prizes here. I won this last year. I won a $500 Yeti cooler.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was like, dude. And people were like, what the heck, sir? You won last year. The year before, I got a $1,000 gift card to a massage parlor.
Oh my god.
This feels like the same as counting cards at a casino.
Well, see, everyone's like, oh, yeah, here you go. Here's my name. Here's my name. So everyone thinks they have the same chance, except this jerk.
Wow.
But don't tell your other teachers that, because they're going to start doing it.
Everyone's gonna look online for this video recording and they're gonna find out your secret.
I know. But I do it anytime there's a raffle, and there's so many times there's some sort of, we're picking names out of a hat to see who wins. Okay? The year before that, I got $500 worth of wine. You know, it's like all these wine. Yeah, here's a big old case. This is $500 worth of wine bottles. I'm like, yeah, I don't really drink wine, but I still want it. And there's just all these different things. And there's other teachers that have been teaching at the school for 20 plus years who have never won. But here comes this village idiot.
Does this make you a bad person?
Well, no, I just,
No, it's a raffle.
I mean, I'm just,
Higher IQ.
I'm just,
What are the ethics behind that?
there's none.
Work smarter.
I mean, they did not tell me I couldn't crumple. There was no rules. Like someone said, hey, whatever you do not crumple your paper. Just leave it flat. They didn't do that. So, but I've won so many prizes. Of my 7 years here, I have won something every year. Now, I don't always win the big prize, but it's just kind of funny. So I have swayed the system to put it in my favor. Okay, but if that makes you think, worse about me as a person, well, I'm sorry. All right, so that's the funny thing with the random number generator. Now here's a real silly too. I can change this. I can change this random number generator, and I can choose random integer. Okay. Now this is what I do. This is crazy. Every year, Mr. Padovic puts on a pick 3 winners football pool. Each week, you have to select 3 teams that I think will win. Okay, now how odds work. Odds makers are really pretty darn good. You'd be very amazed if you were to ever look and you could just go online and say, hey, what are the odds on, or what's the line on this team beating this team? And they have either a plus score or a minus score. Okay, so let's say Denver Broncos are going to play Cleveland Browns. Okay? So the odds makers take a look at all the players who are going to play. They look back at all of the times we've played Cleveland, and they create a money line or a number line. And they say, I think Denver's going to win by 5.5 or more. Okay, and the reason they pick a decimal amount is because if Denver wins by 5, the person who bet on Cleveland wins the money. If Denver wins by 6, the person who picked Denver would win with Denver. Okay, so let's pick that. So what I do each week on this pool is I say, okay, the very first team is going to be 0. The very last team is going to be 31. Okay, let's say there were 16 games that week. So I just go through the list and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Count all the teams. So each team on the columns has a certain number. And so what I want to do is I want to pick 3 numbers from 0 to 31, and I'm going to hit paste. And what this tells me is if I go through my list of teams, so you have 2 columns of teams. This column on the left is playing this column on the right. So this team plays this team. This team plays this team. So I go through. I say, okay, I'm going to pick teams. I labeled 0 as a winner. I'm going to pick team who picked 31 to be a winner. And I'm going to pick the team who was number 3 to be a winner. And it goes based on the spread of point differential that they think is going to happen. I have won more times doing this because I'm not putting thought into the teams. Okay? When people bet on sporting events, I will never go up to in a sports book if I was gonna bet money in Vegas or do one of those online things. It's really hard for me to sit there and look going, gosh, should I pick this team or that team? Now the team that I have the hardest time and I will never bet on, because I believe in some sort of weird betting odds. I will never bet the Steelers game. I feel like if I bet the Steelers win, I've jinxed them. If I bet against the Steelers, I'm going to jinx them. I can't do it. This is my favorite. But so when this comes up, if number 31 team was the Steelers, I say, nope. I'm going to hit enter again. Now I'm going to bet on 16, 12, and 23. Oh, good. It's not the Steelers. I kid you not. But I win more often than a lot of other people who sit there and they try and run the data themselves and think, okay, I know this team's going to win. But I don't put any thought process into it. Other than if one of these numbers linked up to who the Steelers are playing, or if it's the Steelers, I can't do it. Okay, and that's just kind of the weird thing with me. Does it mean that, is there really a jinxing probability? I don't know, but I always feel that way. I feel like, oh, I let my team down. So humans can't randomly choose. So if I say, hey, pick a random number between 1 and 10. So if you're sitting there thinking about it, and if I start asking each person, what number, if I get to the 20th person in this class, you've heard 19 other people pick a number, so then you're going to pick a number that you hadn't heard. So that doesn't mean it's randomness. Okay? So that's just kind of a silly thing. You know, in a magic trick with cards, here, pick any card where they have the cards fanned out. A lot of people pick right in the middle. They're not picking a random card. They're picking right in the middle. Now, I always kind of sway it, and I'll pick to one of the sides. But again, it's not random. I put some thought into it. So it's all kind of goofy stuff, and that's how the random number generator works. You want randomness to take place. There, you could find a random number generator online. It would do it for you. But there's just different things there. So there's just things to think about. How does randomness happen? It just does. We as people can't randomly select. Our brains aren't wired that way. There's so many different variables that would allow us to pick, different places to go. All right, so number 3 says traditionally, ACT scores are normally distributed. Okay, now have they been given ACT tests for a long time? Yeah, back when I was in high school, you actually the school didn't offer a day that you take the ACT. Now I realize there's different Saturdays you can sign up to take the ACT as well. But back when I was in school, the schools didn't give the ACT. There would be different school sites that would offer the ACT that you had to pay for. So the ACT data has changed over the years, and I'm not quite sure when schools started paying for it to have all of their juniors take the ACT, for free. I'm not sure when that took place. I'm sure we could look it up. It's probably different for schools nationwide. But they have a lot of data based on it. Now, ACT scores, since I was in school, took a little bit of a dip. This average score took a little bit of a dip. By what I just told you about ACT scores, why do you think ACT scores took a little bit of a dip since the 80s? Have students become dumber? No. Has teaching gone downhill? Maybe, but I wouldn't attribute that just solely. Why do you think ACT scores would drop from when I was in school to when you guys are in school?
The system.
It is the system. You're right saying that.
I don't know.
So let me ask you this: how many of you have taken the ACT when the school offered it on one of those testing days? Just raise your hand. Should be almost everybody. Okay. So the school said, "Hey, here's a day of testing. Take the ACT." Now I realized that when we had the state testing, this school was awesome at opting out because the data meant nothing. Okay, it didn't help you get into college. It wasn't on a transcript. It meant nothing. And a lot of the parent groups here at this school especially, like my very first year here, we were offering one of the state testing things. I can't remember what it was. And I can't remember which grade level it was, but whatever grade level was supposed to take a test. And so they, okay, I'm going to take all these teachers. You're going to be a proctor. You're going to be a proctor. You're going to be a proctor. And had to go through and watch all these videos to make sure we knew how to read the directions and take time and just silly stuff like that. But my first year here, I walk in, and this test that we were supposed to give to all of the sophomores or freshmen or juniors, I can't remember what it was. But it was one group. I actually think it was the senior. There was a senior history test, state history test. So this was 7 years ago, so you guys were still in middle school. We had 24 of our students who showed up in total. Well, you got roughly 1,000 kids per grade, right? We had 24 kids show up. Now here's the silly. There were schools. Yes, it was a senior test. I remember Eagle Crest High School. In order for the state to validate that your students' test counted for whatever, you had to have 95% of the students that were at that school in that grade take the test. Eagle Crest High School's principal, who's no longer principal, threatened the senior class, saying if we don't meet that 95%, I cancel graduation and prom.
What? How?
Kid you not.
Go ahead, bro.
So he get fired because of that?
I think there was other things, but I don't think that made this principal very popular. But meanwhile, we have 24 students that show up. Now, think about it. What 24 really showed up? it was basically a kid going, oh, you know, they didn't really know how to play school real well, so they knew they had to come to school. And they're like, go ahead and test that day.
They just pulled up on the bus.
So yeah, there's no one on the bus today. What's up with that? They get off the bus. Hey, all right, Billy, you're here. You got to take this test. Oh, where's everyone else at? They all opted out. Oh, what do you mean? I could have opted out? Yeah, didn't you read the emails? But what was funny was the state, Colorado Department of Education, told Cherry Creek High School that they lose their accreditation rating because we didn't have enough students show up. Now, this is a relatively educated population at the school, meaning your parents are relatively educated as a whole. Yes, I understand there's some of your parents that might not have gone to college. I'm not trying to take away. But there's some really big law firm offices over here that their kids go here. I'm pretty sure those law firms had sent the State Department of Education for Colorado some pretty intense letters on their law firm's letterhead that was delivered by a courier carrier, not the mail. And all of a sudden the State Department came back saying, "We're just kidding. We're not going to lower your accreditation rating." So it was just kind of funny. I mean, this population here played the system and won. But did the Eagle Crest principal, could you imagine? You're a senior. You're looking forward to graduation. You're looking forward to prom. Could you imagine having that threat? Do you think those kids might have went home and said, "Hey, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, parent, guardian, whatever. They said if 95% of us don't show up, they're going to cancel prom and graduation." Do you think that principal's voicemail and email box was filled by parents? I was just like, but I mean, these are just sillies that take place, and it's just the main thing. So, back to ACT scores. The reason why ACT scores took a mild dip from when I would have taken it to when you took it wasn't because of any of the factors of students do worse, students or teachers do worse. It had nothing to do with that. It had to do with we were now giving the ACT to all of our juniors for free versus when I was in school, you had to choose to take the test. Okay, so you had the kid who didn't do so well in school, probably never took the test. But the kid who was your AP student paid to take the test. So you had the higher end kid take the test versus the kid lower end. Now we're testing everybody on it. So, it took a little dip because of that. And I remember when the data had been shown saying one time it wasn't that test, it was another test that we had a dip, and the administration was like, you teachers aren't working hard enough. And it's like, you realize it might have taken a dip just because, not because people weren't doing their job. It might have just taken a dip just because. So, actually, the year it took a dip was after September 11th happened. And we had unfortunately lost a lot of people because of the hijacked planes. So there was people that were a little bit more cautious. Okay. So, let's see. ACT, I'm sorry, I'm like all over the place. ACT scores traditionally are normally distributed with a population mean of 36. So population mean of 36. And a population standard deviation of 6. Okay? This has since changed. What is the mean and standard error for the sample size of 100? How do I do it? What did we talk about yesterday? Or maybe yesterday. I gotta get to the right page. Did we change the standard deviation to using this formula? So that's standard deviation of 6 over the square root of 100, which is 6 over 10, which is 0.3. Hi!
Are you recording?
Yeah, what do you got?
I just want to know real quick, even if I haven't set it up yet and my kids are capstoning tomorrow,
Uh-huh.
you won't be here. Could he do it with you today? Like, can you set it up?
Sure. Are you off 4, 6, or 8?
I'm up for 10 days.
You come either of those periods, just remind me, and I'll make sure I give it to you. So if I'm not in the office there, I'm in here. Please come by, and happy to help you. Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That good?
What's that?
3.6.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, see, Sturm goes on a tangent. He gets it wrong. Sturm doesn't go on a tangent. He's wrong. Can't win. All right. So what does this mean? What does this mean as far as our questions go? Okay. So now for letter A, we say that our mean is still the 36. That doesn't change. But our standard deviation changes to 0.6. Okay? So notice this went from a population standard deviation of 6 to a standard deviation of 0.6 because we had a sample size. We weren't applying it to all.
So what's the standard error?
Okay, so
Is that another way to standard deviation?
yeah. So this is now the standard error, which is the standard deviation. Okay? All right, so if we go through this a little bit further, create a normal come on, stay down there. Go here, maybe I'll stay down. Now we're going to create a new normal curve. So we have 36 here. Standard deviation with our sample, we're going to go 36.6.
Why would it be 36.6?
Because of our standard error now changed. If we went to our original sample, yeah, or our original problem, yeah, you add 6 each time. But now we add the 0.6. So this becomes 37.2. This becomes 35.4. This becomes 34.8. So basically, if you're going this way, you're adding 0.6. If you go this way, you're subtracting 0.6. You're doing what your new standard error is. And then letter C, it's greater than what? I can't.
104.
104? Okay. So for the letter C, they want us to use this 104. So this is the normal CDF. So we're going to use the mean being 60, the 0.6, 104, and we want what percent of random size? 100. We'll have greater than 104, so we can make this like 1,000. Okay, so we do the normal CDF.
How'd you get 60?
Because that was my. Oh wait, should have been 60. Should have been 36, right?
So you're trying to put in your population.
Okay, so if you do this on your calculator, I think you get an answer of 0. Hey, coach.
So our lower limit is 36 and our upper limit?
No, our mean, our average.
Doesn't the mean come second? Like you do your upper and lower limits first?
Oh, did I go wrong on it? Let me go back. I'm gonna go here.
So 104 would be the
Second, distribute normal CDF. Oh, lower. Okay, lower would be the 36.
Wait, I thought that was best mean. Would the
That is-
lower be 104?
Yeah, 104. Jeez, you guys. If I didn't have you guys here, I'd be all wrong. Upper, pick something way bigger.
You picked 1,000.
Is that good?
Yes.
Mean is
36.
36, and our new
0.6.
0.6. Okay, now watch what happens. If I do this, it gives me 0. Now let me ask you this. This is coming out to 0. Is the calculator going to get to a point where it's so many zeros that the calculator is eventually going to say it's got to be 0? Your calculator will actually go out to 10 to the 99 or 10 to the negative 99th power, and once it gets to there, it then has to default to what the number it's closest to. So this is a limit. It's approaching 0. It's actually technically not 0. But if we had changed this just a little bit and just said, hey, let's change this 104 to 37, which is closer into our range. If I did that, meaning we had an average of 36, we want to know who would score 37. So we're talking about and I know this wasn't a question on there, but we have a 4.8% chance that happens with our new sample with the square root of, the square root of 100. Okay? So what I want to do is tomorrow we'll have a small quiz on 5.1 and 5.3. Okay? I'm going to leave it as complete open note. And that could be also homework in there. Okay? It's pretty short, but will you do me a favor? Will you do page 69, number 4, A through D?
Yeah.
That'll be assigned for tonight. Cool?